Welcome back to Blacksheep Barbell Podcast. Today we have Andrew Peel on the show. He's an online fitness coach and he's also a strength coach at Van Wert High School in Ohio. He has a football background and he's also been lifting for over 20 years. So I'm excited to talk to you, Andrew. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Doing good. Busy
Good.
day, but still good
Yeah.
overall.
I found your podcast and it's called No Bad Days. That title, No Bad Days, you were trying to say, there is no bad days. It's always a lesson. It's either you look at life through the lens of things as being a lesson or a blessing. And I really like that. You said that. So what kind of gave you the idea to come up with that and what made you want to share that with the world?
So the first thing, is usually people always think that, when I talk about no bad days, they just automatically assume that, I live in this world of sunshine and rainbows and things are always perfect and whatnot. And that's, the total
Yeah.
opposite. Um,
Yeah.
but really, it came down to my son, my oldest, was born in 2017.
Mhm.
And my wife went through some complications there towards the end of the pregnancy and actually got to the point where we weren't sure if she was going to make it. It got pretty dire,
Oh wow.
and my son ended up being born premature and just kind of went through some different hurdles living in and out of the NICU, and just kind of put me in a little bit of a spiral because I'd always been someone that kind of been in control of things and was able to have a good grasp on just life in general. Just felt like I could course correct things whenever they'd go awry, but things like that, I'm just the dad sitting kind of in the back seat, totally out of control, and kind of messed with me mentally. And I mean, there's a lot of parts of fatherhood people don't usually talk too much about, and guys are usually a little bit too much ego driven almost, that doesn't really get brought up too much. But that transition into becoming a first time dad can be pretty hard on a lot of guys, especially in my experience in dealing and coaching with a lot of dads now. Um, but anyways, that whole experience, it definitely wore me down a little bit, physically, mentally, spiritually, the
Mhm.
whole gamut. And I was never a runner. Um, and I was whatever, it just entered something stupid on Facebook, and somehow my name got put into a drawing to win a free half marathon entry to a bigger race here in the area.
Mhm.
And I was like, you know what? F it, I'm going to do it. So, in the midst of that, I went from essentially doing more powerlifting at that point in time in my life and transitioned into trying to figure out how to run and train for a half marathon, which was totally out of my wheelhouse at that point in time.
Mhm.
And started listening to a kind of the early rendition of podcasts and whatnot at that time. Like podcasts weren't super big, and I don't know, I can't even think of the guy's name anymore, which is sad, but um his it was Eddie something, and he was from the New England area. Just started listening to this dude, and he was just whatever, kind of hitting all the the weak points for me personally that really struck a chord with a lot of stuff. And at one point in one of those podcasts, he mentioned something about no bad days, and I didn't really think too much of it. Well, then a couple of days later, I was watching Sports Center, and Taylor Lewan was on there, who was a big name NFL lineman at the time, and actually he played for the University of Michigan, which is like my big diehard team I grew up loving.
Mhm. Oh, it's
And
nice, nice.
yeah, and I know I had saw or heard that you guys were from Michigan, so
Yeah, yeah.
right,
I'm a Michigan fan, so
okay, good deal.
yeah,
I was hoping you were maize and blue and not green.
yeah.
That would have been
I'm not
rough.
I'm not a state fan, so
Good deal.
yeah.
Um, but anyways, on that episode that Lawan was on, something got brought up, and I guess his hashtag and catchphrase was "No bad days," and it was within
Ah,
days of hearing that same thing that resonated, and from that point on, it just really stuck with me. And that
yeah.
was kind of the fruition of it, and I've literally used it with everything I do for the past, I don't know, 8 or 9 years now.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, like I said, just the saying "no bad days" and the fact that you're using that, it's that positive outlook, and I think that's important. And I know a lot of people in the gym community relate to that, and the gym's kind of therapy and this and that,
Yeah,
but it's important to look at it as this is a lesson or this is a blessing, like you talked about in your recent episode. It's important not to focus on those bad things and just keep yourself down. You just try to motivate yourself to keep moving forward and just understand that it's a lesson and it will get better. Like this too shall pass. That's been said many times. But
Yep.
you know, it's a similar outlook to that.
And like
But
I always talk about it too with the athletes and people that I coach that it it really translates into the fitness industry perfectly because like you can have some pretty crappy days where you just don't want to show up, you don't want to go to the gym,
mm-hmm.
and you think like you're just going in, you're going through the motions, and it's really for nothing. It's not going to pay any dividends for you. It's not going to help or add up to anything. But like you and I
Mm-hmm.
know that those days that you show up, those test days, you don't want to be there and you still show up anyways. Like they all stack up over
Exactly.
time and they lead to something.
You know, it's always important to like not to hold that stuff in. Like I said, like you don't want to hold that all those bad thoughts in. Like you always try to turn everything into a positive because everything is limited.
Yeah,
You know, your life's limited, so you don't want to focus on those bad things. You know what I mean?
right.
Um, so how did you end up becoming a high school coach?
To kind of really back up the train, I used to like right out of school, I started getting involved into coaching some youth sports and doing things. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I at one point in time actually went back to school and became a teacher and was a teacher for a handful
Oh.
of years.
Oh
And
wow. Okay.
yeah, so like I've always been pretty passionate about doing things with
Mm-hmm.
the younger generation in general. Really, I've never really had like my one area that I really love to be as far as like age levels and whatnot. I like seeing those light bulb moments and seeing those breakthroughs for kids. But I started out coaching high school football and was involved and became a teacher and whatnot and did all those things. And then kind of around the time frame that COVID hit, I started gearing way out of doing coaching and eventually my online coaching got to the point that I was able to leave my teaching career. There were some other things that really played into there too, but really that kind of helped set me up with the opportunity to go more into the coaching sphere of stuff. And there was a couple years here recently that I was like 100% virtual. I wasn't doing anything in person, got away from doing anything with students. And the school district that I live near and around, we have a good history of being awful at sports. Like it's just there's not a lot of
Yeah.
good victorious years and seasons amongst the sporting programs here where I grew up and was born and raised. And me being who I am and like kind of the experiences and things that I have and the connections and networks that I have with other coaches and athletes across the country, I tried to offer my services for free to the local school
Mm.
here, and oddly enough, like I wasn't hearing anything back. Like I have a pretty good
Oh
rapport with them,
wow.
but I wasn't hearing anything and didn't really like get myself beat up too much over it because that's kind of like how things roll around here, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I wasn't gonna, whatever, it wasn't gonna drag it out and make it anything worse than it had to be. And then my high school football coach around that same time sent me a message and said that he saw there was an opening for a strength and conditioning position at
Oh
the
wow.
the school district down the road where I actually started my teaching career years ago.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and I had great connections there, so I went in, went through a different series of interviews, and whatever, made it
Mm-hmm.
into the final set there and got offered the position and have stepped into that. And I, I mean, I love it. It's kind of
Yeah.
the mix of all the good things. I get to work with some students again. I get to push some really high
Mm-hmm.
level athletes there because they do have a pretty good uh, sporting background with records and
Mm-hmm.
successes and things like that. So it's been pretty fun. But that's kind of it's gone full circle of starting someone in that realm, getting away from it, and realizing I don't like all virtual. I need to be
Yeah.
around people.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Was that something you've ever thought of like when you started working out in the past? Is that something you ever thought of coaching other people or like students or anything, or is that just a
I kind of
thing?
maybe adults, but the strength
Mm-hmm.
conditioning part with students, no, like it never even crossed my mind.
It's got to be kind of a challenge too, especially with students. You know, I feel like some kids they might not be as motivated. So what do you do? Like, how do you deal with students that aren't really motivated? Like, how do you talk them into okay, like to lift this or like how do you talk that discipline into them?
So I really love the aspect of like building relationships. That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what I was. I wasn't like a great student by any means, and there were some early years where I really struggled. So the things that I remember as a kid when I was having those hard times at school were the
Mm-hmm.
teachers that were not just there trying to get me to get a good grade. They were really trying to build the relationship. And that was where I saw my breakthroughs personally. So that kind of always set with me. Um, so like in the weight room, I handle it the same way. Like whenever there's a kid that doesn't really seem like they're motivated, or you can kind of get a sense of those like awkward people that are coming in with it,
Hmm.
like think they want to try it, but they don't have any experience there. They're just really out of place. I just go out of my way and start finding some connections, trying to find some common ground, some different things. Or like I'm also like I wear it with a badge of honor that I am a dad and have awful dad jokes about everything. So I will try and break the
Yeah.
awkwardness and just throw in some corny jokes or cliche things there just to make them think that I'm this like dorky dude. And then I'll get up and I'll start bench pressing more weight than what they've ever seen, or I'll jump in and deadlift with them, or
Yeah.
just jumping in. And then it kind of like, I don't know, it's a good
Yeah.
icebreaker to have a combination of that like nerdiness, but I can still do some awesome things.
Yeah, and plus kids, they're really competitive, so even watching their
Yeah.
coach like lift this much weight, that's gonna kind of drive them to do that as well. So that's
Yeah.
that's really good. And I talked to my so in my high school, I had one of the strength coaches on from there, and something I asked him, I'll ask you too. How do you deal with kids? Everybody's on social media. They see all these influencers, you know, there's a lot of things on there that's just not ideal for lifting, or they may see something, think it's a good idea, but it's not really. So how do you deal with that? Like, how do you unteach those bad habits with the kids that you're coaching?
It really depends. Like if there's stuff that I just like will see outright in person as far as habits
Mm-hmm.
go, like I'll just call them out. Like I don't really like to beat around the bush.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of a no BS individual when it comes to anything like in that domain.
Yeah.
And it really just like I'm not there to like demoralize them, or I'm not going to make them feel like totally out of place. But if I see something or hear them talking about something, or like they'll always pull up their phones and try to show me something, like if it's just something
Yeah.
ridiculous, like I just call it as it is and call a spade a spade. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they'll just kind of like roll their eyes or still comment or do something or whatever. Like that's just the nature of the beast with social media anymore. But
Yeah.
usually, like if I can, I'll try to steer them in the direction of like someone that I do know, social media wise, that they can start following or whatever, just to kind of get some better influences,
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Yeah.
But they're gonna be exposed to all that stuff all the time, and
Mm-hmm.
like there's no beating it. Some of them are just gonna fall to the prey of
Yeah.
some of those people and stupid things, but that's about
Yeah.
all I've found to be able to do. So
Yeah, it's the common mistake. Like I've said it a few times before, but you know, kids, especially kids like on social media, they don't realize like when people are showing themselves at their peak, like on social media. Like
right,
that could be from one show, that could be from one meet or something.
yeah,
They're not always able to do that. Or, I think there's also a problem with a lot of kids see these guys, that are on a ton of steroids and they're not really like
right.
truthful, or like kids want to do that too early. Like they never try to reach their max potential naturally. So, have you ever had to deal with like kids coming to you asking about using steroids or things like that?
So funny enough, I have not up until today. Today I had,
Oh
yeah,
well.
today I had like they were kind of joking around about it, but it was like
Mhm.
that, like kind of like that reverse psychology, I feel like is what they were trying to do, of like trying to play
Yeah.
stupid, like, oh yeah, I would never do that, but like, have you heard about this? Or I'm like,
Yeah.
no, we're not, we're not even gonna get it roped into this. But yeah, like one of the benefits that at least I've had is I've dabbled in a little bit of everything. So like
Mhm.
I can pull up pictures of me and I'll show them like this is what I looked like when I did my bodybuilding stint
Yeah.
there, and like you can see me now, like I'm 50 pounds heavier than what I was on stage that year. Like it's
Mhm.
not sustainable. It's not where I felt my best by any means. And like I've got friends that I can like again lead to as examples of like this is what they look like when they're prepping for a show, and this is what they look like when they're hanging out with me
Yeah.
during the off season.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
having those networks and relatability pieces with that does definitely,
Mhm.
I think, help me to be able to have those
Yeah.
conversations and kind of again offer that relatability with a
Mhm.
lot of them.
For sure. Yeah. Is there any like common like myths or anything that those kids like come in believing full heartedly, and you're like, no, that's not true. Like whether it's diet or workout programs or a lift itself.
Probably the biggest one that I seem to encounter so far with kids is creatine. Like for whatever reason, they think that they can just like pound 20 to 30 grams of that and that'll just make
Oh,
them like freaking monsters. And
yeah.
like, so I have to dive into that. It seems like more than anything. But I
Yeah.
mean, unless they're just not talking about everything with me, I mean, I don't really hear a
Mhm.
bunch of stuff, I guess, in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, creatine, I started taking that when I was probably in high school, but it's like I do what's the minimum? It's like
Five,
5.
5 grams. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty
So that's all
standardized.
I do, and that's what I've been doing that every day like a vitamin. It's very overblown, like definitely on social media, so I understand why kids may
Yeah.
be trying to down all that, which can be
Eh,
dangerous. I mean, it can have a
eh,
negative effect. So,
Well, and like that's the crappy part about social media is like creatine really is an awesome supplement and
yeah.
like I recommend it to freaking everybody that I work with, like whether you're
Yeah.
16 years old or you're 65 years old,
Mhm.
I think everyone should honestly be using it in some capacity. But
Yeah.
yeah, just the simple fact that like they'll come in and they always think like that teenage era mindset is always more is better. So like no matter what it
Yeah.
is, they just think like if I get more of it I'm going to be better off or I'm going to get there quicker. Like,
Mhm.
bro, like it doesn't work that way. I've been lifting hard
Exactly.
for 20 some years and like I'm just this big. Like it
Yeah.
is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, creatine, it definitely I feel like it helps me a lot. I've had times where I didn't do it, like I stopped doing it for a period of time and I feel like maybe I don't feel as good in the gym, but I'm like, is that just placebo or not? But I've seen a
Yeah.
lot of these stories though about creatine. It's like they think it may positively improve like your mental like mentally or things like
Yeah.
that. I don't know if there's like new stuff coming out. I don't know if it's like 100%, but that's like the only supplement I've seen that actually has majority like all positive things. Like
Yeah.
there's not really any negative other than if you take the whole tub at once. So,
Right. Well, and
yeah.
it's been around forever too. Like it's
Mhm.
proven that it's the longest sustainable, like tested supplement out
Yeah.
there. So like there's decades of research and things that they've done on it. So it's not
Yeah.
like it's just your new fat burner or pre-workout or
Mhm.
something that is always getting tweaked or
Yep.
modified or whatever. So
Yeah. It's just one ingredient. It's
yeah,
just
right,
creatine. So,
right.
which it's, what you get naturally and your body makes naturally, but it's just hard to get that much. That's why it's such a good supplement, why you should take it, in which it's a supplement. So, you're you're not supposed to just rely on these things, but creatine you can't get it that much in just food. You have to eat like a ton of red meat or something
Yeah,
to get 5 grams of creatine. So that's why I think it's probably the best supplement. Like protein powders, everything else, it's always better to just eat, just like
go whole food as
have
much
that
as
those
possible.
things. Yeah, have those things if you're on the go, like quickly.
Right.
But a lot of kids, especially, I know when I was in high school, I was like, I want to get big. I want to mass gainer, like this and that, even though you don't
Yeah,
care about what's in it. Um, yeah, so I've learned since then, but I know it's popular in high school to think like that, especially with a lot of these influencers, like these big
yeah,
guys. So, it's easy to fall in that trap, and they're expensive. So,
right. Well, and like back in high school too, like you weren't about to go out and spend money on something
yeah.
that was good quality. You'd always go to like GNC and see whatever was on
Mm-hmm.
the like reduced rack or something like that. So like
Yeah.
the stuff that like I used to use and put in my body is just not anything I would ever recommend for somebody to do.
Yeah. You just don't care, especially in high school. It's just like,
Yeah,
who cares? I'm a high schooler. I'm young. Who
right.
cares? Yeah, GNC, man. I remember I used to go in there, get the mass gainer, and they were like, oh, you can buy one and get one free. I'm like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah,
I
why
wonder
not?
why? Because it's crap.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I've definitely learned, and I know you have, especially like looking at your bodybuilding career and everything, how important nutrition is, and how important it is to know what you're putting in your body, not just to eat anything. There's like popular things like dirty bulking and everything, which is popular with high schoolers as well.
Yep.
So when you got into bodybuilding, or rather, when you started to understand more of the nutritional facts and everything, when you got into that, was that hard for you to get into? And is that what led you kind of into bodybuilding, or is that like hand in hand?
Yeah, so my growing up, my parents and grandparents co-owned a grocery store here in our small town.
Oh, okay.
So
Nice.
so like my brother and I, so my brother's about 5.5 years older than me. We would spend like a lot of our free time hanging out or helping out with things around the grocery store. And being a kid, like I literally could just go grab anything off the shelf, and as long as I kind of made sure someone knew that I was taking it, like it was okay. Like it was pretty much
Yeah.
anything that I wanted. Um,
Wow.
so like, I mean, being a kid, like I would go over and sneak candy bars and like just all the stuff that you're not supposed to have because no one was really there to monitor me and I could
Yeah.
essentially take whatever I wanted. So like we had a little bit of boundaries nutrition wise. Like, I think I mentioned something about it, but like we were kind of like the meat and potatoes family. Like just
Mm-hmm.
that was like our bare bones
Yep.
kind of mindset and logic. But outside of that, like I really didn't understand much of anything. Like I used to pack a bunch of peanut butter sandwiches thinking that was like a high protein meal and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So like I didn't have a good understanding of any of that. So it was definitely a huge learning curve, because again, like everyone that I was really around, I didn't really have any influencers, in person or mentors that were super big into the nutrition side of stuff. Like I had some meatheads and things like that that I hung around, but they never really talked about the nutrition side.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
until I really kind of dove in and got my online CPT, like I didn't really have a good foundation with that. It was just kind of like throwing things on the wall and seeing what would stick. And
Yeah.
um, so it was really like a total 180, like lifestyle wise, because I went from just like knowing essentially nothing and just kind of whatever I had heard over the years, from nobody that had any clue on nutrition to
Mm-hmm.
actually doing some actual research and education on it and kind of tweaking things
Yeah.
and flipping it around. And
Yeah.
honestly, the bodybuilding stand, like that was a pretty small era. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that I was involved in it. I really like it came down to like I had a good rap on nutrition and I just want to see like what exactly can I do with my body? Like what will happen if I
Yeah.
really dial all in, like see how my body really reacts to certain things and just fine tune stuff
Mm-hmm.
and treat my body as a science experiment. Is really what it
Yeah.
came down to.
Yeah.
Like it definitely helped and I think that gave me a better understanding for nutrition as a
Mm-hmm.
whole and being able to help explain and coach it to my people. um,
Yeah.
but it kind of like bodybuilding kind of happened after I started to get a little bit better understanding on the nutrition
Oh,
side.
nice. When was that switch when you wanted to start understanding nutrition more and like why it's important to pay attention to that?
No, like I was one of like a couple chubby kids in my like circle
Mm-hmm.
that hung around together all through school and like college years and whatnot. And it really came
Yeah.
down to, there was a point in time where I was hanging out with some friends at like a local bar or something. And I think like I don't remember what it was, but there was some drinking going on, obviously, and they were like girls trying to lift up our shirts and see like who had the best set of abs.
Mm.
And like then there was just me there, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna go back to the bar. I'm gonna hang out like a just doing everything and anything to like avoid
Yeah.
that kind of situation because I mean I didn't like I was nowhere even near having abs at any point in my
Mm-hmm.
time, at that point. So that was kind of the like punch in the gut, metaphorically speaking, and literally like I need to figure some of this stuff out. And then I just started doing some digging and came
Mm-hmm.
across the fact that you can get certified online. So I found a reputable course and program and just kind of dove all in from that point.
That's cool. A lot of people like some people have that kind of experience where that just switches for them where they're like, oh, I didn't like this, I didn't feel comfortable with this, and I want to change my life because of that. And I think that's really cool that inspired you to do that. Like that just changed your mind right there.
Yeah.
And you talked about you were playing football as well. So were you like in football? You're like the big guy like in football and everything. Is that why you said you were a little heavier back then?
Yeah. So like again, so my area is super small, very small town vibes. Like the Hallmark type movies where we have one
Mm-hmm.
stoplight, we have a post office, like it's bare minimum here. I graduated with like 80 people in my class, and that was a huge class for us at the school. So like we didn't have a lot of like huge dudes or a big variety of size when it came to like sports. So I was considered big amongst our like core group of friends and the athletes and whatnot. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm only 5'8" and I weighed probably 220 pounds, and it was a lot of fluff at that point.
Mm.
So I was always the thicker guy, but I was never really like I had never considered myself big or huge or anything like that. It was more so just like I was kind of that like big bone dude or whatever that hung out in the group. Um, but like being involved in football, that's kind of where I used it to my advantage. Um, and like I never
Mm-hmm.
really I, I was a big dude, but I never really had a stopping point. Like I didn't have that like weak point of like even if I'd get winded or totally gassed out, like I could always just keep going. Like I just always would able to find that second gear or something
Yeah.
and just really keep pushing the level up a notch. So like when it came into football, like I just tried to use that to my advantage. Like I didn't have a bunch of natural athletic ability. I didn't have huge size. I got forced to be a lineman because we didn't really have a bunch of options. So it really came down to like, okay, like if like I'm built more of like a fullback kind of ordeal or maybe like a linebacker or something, but like we didn't have linemen to help block. So I'm just gonna get really effing good at this. Like I don't care how
Mm.
small I am, short wise. Like I'm just gonna get all in on this and just like I kind of just made that like my realm. And I didn't again like I didn't know how to be tired or quit or give up on something. So like even if I was getting
Yeah.
beat around, like I would just keep showing up and be that little annoying gnat when I was younger. And like that's
Yeah.
again that kind of is what led me to like working out, being at the gym
Mm-hmm.
consistently, doing anything extra that I could do or learn because
Mm-hmm.
like I didn't have what I considered like the natural gifts that some of my other friends had
Yeah.
around me.
Yeah, and like you had that discipline too, because you were talking about how you kind of got addicted to like killing yourself in workouts. Ended up completing one of the Mutter races, one each year for 5 to 6 years straight.
Hmm.
So like just you doing that once just kind of got you addicted to that. And that's how you know like you probably have like the right mindset to do that, because some people struggle with that, and it
Yeah,
seems like that you just already had that. So that relating to your workouts and everything, that's a good thing.
yeah, and like I think, and like I know, especially you talking to a wide range of people involved in fitness, from
Mm-hmm.
all sorts of different lives, but like you got to be a little crazy to really be good at something in any of the fitness arenas.
Yeah.
And like that's where like I have a mad respect for bodybuilders, CrossFitters, endurance athletes, like your MMA type guys, like anyone that does anything and just really like dives into it full force. I have freaking mad respect for anyone. Like I know there's always a lot of
Yeah.
jokes between like the gym bros and the CrossFitters and stuff like that, always trying to like harp on each other about one being
Yeah.
far superior. But really,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like I think there's always a good mutual respect that like whatever it is you're doing, you're at least owning your craft and really going all in with
Mm-hmm.
it. And that's
Yeah.
like, I mean, that's really what it came down to me. Like I never really felt like I wanted, like, I couldn't find that one thing. It was always like something sucked and it just like
Mm.
would trigger something for me to get excited about seeing like how far can I push my body in this one. And then I would get excited and go all in for a couple years on something. And then
Yeah.
a friend of mine or a client of mine would get interested in doing something and it would like totally shift my momentum and be like, oh yeah, that sounds awful. Like I kind of want to try it. I want to see what that's like. And so like that's just kind of where I've been
Yeah.
at the last like 20 years of my life, it seems like, is just
Mm-hmm.
getting excited whenever I meet somebody new or come across somebody getting involved in something and just trying to see like where it can take me or
Yeah.
where it can take off with.
Yeah. There's something about, even though this is gonna be awful, like this is gonna suck training for this. But there's just something about the idea of like once you do it, like that satisfaction and that idea that you've completed this. Like not a lot of people can do this. I think helps that.
Yeah.
I've thought to myself, I'm not a big runner at all. Like I don't like running a lot. I do more like powerlifting focused style, like me and my cousin both do it. And so running and a lot of cardio is not really in our thing, but I had this idea like, okay, maybe by the time next year, like in a few months, like maybe I'll try to run like a 10K. Like maybe I'll train for
Hmm.
it. Like I'm still young. Like I don't want to do too much cardio. I don't want to get too skinny because I was naturally like a really skinny kid and it
Right.
was hard for me to gain weight. But it's
Yeah.
just that idea of like changing it up a little bit. It kind of gets boring after a while, like just doing, okay, I'm gonna do powerlifting. I'm gonna try to hit this weight and this weight. I think it's important to change it up a little bit and to see like what you can accomplish, especially if you're a younger age or anything. You have all this time, like you can try out all these different things. Maybe one day I'll try CrossFit. I don't love it,
Right.
but who knows? Like I see some videos. Like we had a guy on way last year when we started, and he's a CrossFitter. And seeing some of the things he does, I can't even imagine doing. So like the squats, you hold it over your head.
No.
Like I can't imagine that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, um, but I think challenging yourself to do different things that you're not used to is important. So,
Yeah.
um,
It,
yeah.
do
So,
you, I'm sure you do. You follow Mark Bell, I'm guessing.
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So like
yeah. He's changed completely.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's like a perfect example. Like he would used to be this
yeah.
huge dude, and he got like heavy
Hmm.
into doing his endurance stuff for a while, and now like he just looks freaking shredded all the time.
I
But like
know.
he went like a total 180 fitness
I
wise.
know. I know. And, he was somebody I followed for a while. And you can see him in those old, like, I think he was in, like, the old West Side Barbell
Yeah.
documentary, like, being interviewed and stuff. Or you can just find old videos of him. And yeah, he was huge. Like, he was just like, I want to be as big as possible and as strong as possible. Now he's running so much. He's just very lean. But I think that's something that came to him because of his age now. Like he's kind of like,
Right.
okay, maybe I should be a little more
And
healthy
the
at my
health
age.
factors, and I think there's some family stuff that they had too, like heart condition wise and whatnot. So I'm
Yeah,
sure, yeah,
yeah, yeah, for sure. But yeah, things like that. I think about that. You know, I think a lot more about nutrition, kind of. Like I don't know a lot of stuff about it. Like I'm interested in it,
hmm
but I think about like how important it is to know what you are putting in your body. Like a lot of these things that people deal with nowadays that I feel like people resort to medication for and things. These
right,
foods that you eat, like whatever's in them, whether it's chemicals and you hear about these things like forever chemicals and certain protein shakes or this and that. People don't really look at the back of these things of these products, but these can result in daily issues that you deal with. So I think it's important, like nutrition for sure.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. When you got into nutrition, what were some resources that you used to try to educate yourself with it?
So like I'm kind of a hands-on book guy. So
Mm-hmm.
like I don't like to just watch videos or hear things or whatnot. Like I like to just physically get like a book or a textbook and be able to make notes, highlight different
Yeah.
things. So I just started collecting just an assortment of different books, and like I had my textbook from ISSA, which is where I got certified from.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So like I just had a lot of those things and just taking notes and just being able to write those things down, and it just helped regurgitate it. I wasn't a big macro guy for the longest time. Like I was just pretty
Mm-hmm.
straightforward of trying to eat clean and just going like your body intuition and things like that, and just
Mm-hmm.
really just doing a lot of intuitive eating.
Yeah.
And then that really like kind of shifted once I got into bodybuilding. Like even being a coach and being like into all this stuff, I still hired a coach to coach me just to take all the thinking off my plate.
Yeah.
And that was the first thing he said is like, no, dude, like we are going to have these macros dialed in and cut up exactly how they should be. We started timing
Mm-hmm.
things and like it just got real precise with it. And that was kind of like the
Yeah.
aha moment. Like I always tell people it's just like a checkbook. Like you can't manage your
Mm-hmm.
money if you're not actually tracking it to the fullest extent, or at least have a good idea and baseline for things to know where you're starting at. It's the same thing with
Yeah.
nutrition. Like anyone I start, like you might really be struggling and it might suck to have to look at all these things and numbers and whatnot. But like right now, you don't have a clue where you stand on anything, and it's just a guessing game. So I'm going to save you 5 to 6 years. These are for like people that really don't know, just fresh and raw coming in. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to save you 5 or 6 years of headaches of just trying to try all these different things and hoping things work. Like we're just going to get the fine numbers. I'm going to give you what you need to have, what you need to hit, and we're going to run with it from there. We'll see how your body starts to adapt. And the long term goal is like, yeah, you're going to be able to intuitively eat because you're going to actually know and understand how this food correlates with the numbers and whatnot with your body. And start to see these things. And I mean, that's how I taught myself and how I really found my groove with
Yeah.
stuff. So it's kind of how I
Yeah.
coach on it too.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's definitely hard, especially getting into that because, it's a lifestyle thing. It's hard to follow that consistently and then, this person wants to go out to eat, this person
Uh-huh.
wants to go here, this person wants to go get ice cream. It's just it's hard, to follow that, but you have to dedicate yourself to it. Even if you have to go somewhere and not eat anything and eat when you get home or bring something with you. Um,
Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of guys on here. They're very consistent with their meal prep and everything, especially guys that are currently doing competitions or bodybuilding competitions. So
Uh-huh.
it's something I haven't done really that consistently, like strictly. I've just tried to eat clean, but it's something I do kind of want to change one day. So
You
maybe I'll
got to
reach out to you
you
about
got to try it
that.
sometime. Just
I
do
know,
do like a
I know.
solid like 6 to 8 weeks and just track it, and
Yeah,
like you will be blown away, and like
yeah,
you'll notice so much about your body. Like it's such a
yeah.
good reference point for you to feel and see exactly
Mhm.
how certain foods interact with you.
Yeah, it's definitely something I've wanted to do for a long time, and you included a lot of people tell me like you need a coach, like you need it. Like I ask a lot of people, could you have done this bodybuilding show without a coach and just following yourself or your own research? They're like, no,
Yeah.
no, I couldn't. Like how important it is to have it. It's definitely something I think I'll try one day. I just haven't gotten around to it yet, but um, I definitely think it is important to even just have that knowledge of the type of foods that you should have or what you like, because there's so many foods out there, that people may have not tried, and they're like, oh wow, this is really good. This is better than having, this sugary thing as a
Hmm.
snack. It's just, if you cut out sugar out of your diet, you'll be surprised how good like
Right.
strawberries taste. So
Right. Yeah.
something like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people like to put sugar on strawberries and stuff, and it's like, no, they're already too
They
sweet
they
without
they, they
that.
got enough, man.
Or like sweet potatoes, people like to put sugar
Yeah.
on sweet potatoes. I've stopped doing that a long time ago. I'm like, man, these just taste so good. And I know sweet potatoes are a big, that's like a really good food to eat, especially for bodybuilders. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, how old are you again?
I'm 23.
23. Okay. So
Yeah.
like growing up for you, was it still like a big thing? Because I never know how to age myself with certain things eating wise, but like,
Hmm.
did you ever used to put like sugar on your cereal? Was that ever a
I
thing?
didn't. I was never a big cereal eater, but I
Okay.
know people that have done that, and I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, like I can remember adding so much like table sugar to my cereal that's already sugary to where like it would just be the milk left and you could scrape out the sugar at the end and eat it. And
Yeah,
that was common with every kid growing up, it seemed like.
yeah, I think my dad has said that to me, like he's done that, but that's crazy to me. I mean, cereal is already
Yeah,
way too sugary.
right.
So
Yeah. Like it blows my mind now that like I would ever even consider something. Like I would probably slap my kids upside the head if they tried to do such a thing. But
yeah. Yeah, that's you know, that's something. I would never try that.
yeah.
How are you like with your own kids now? With all the knowledge that you have with nutrition, how has that impacted them? How have you taught them like nutrition values and everything?
Yeah, so I try to keep it super simple. And my wife is luckily on board with a lot of this. She's not into everything even close to the same realm that I am with everything, fitness wise and
Hmm.
health and whatnot. But she's still on board with the basics and like she understands the fundamentals of nutrition and whatnot just from being with me. Um,
Yeah.
but like with our kids, we really try to keep it simple. The last thing I want to do is create like an eating disorder or have my kids be
Hmm.
genuinely worried about what kind of food they're getting all the time. So like I know there's like helicopter parents that are really worried about like all the red dyes and all these other things.
Yeah.
We keep it pretty simple and straightforward. Like I try to make sure that they understand the difference between a whole food and a processed food. So like, am
Hmm.
I having to actually cook and prepare the food, or are you just getting it straight out of a package? Okay, they
Exactly.
understand that the food I'm preparing is going to be better than a package or fast food or
Yeah.
whatnot. Like we don't not have those things. Like I'm not going to just completely like disown and not let them have and experience
Hmm.
that stuff because I know if they leave my house, that's probably what they're going to be exposed to. So they have to be able to understand that. Um, but like they understand like every meal they have to have a good protein source. Um,
Mm-hmm.
They know like fruits are going to be a good source of energy. They kind of have that basic concept. So like my two boys are getting big into flag football and baseball, and my oldest is going to be getting into basketball soon. So like before sporting
Yeah.
events, we'll kind of talk about it. They'll have like a squeezy applesauce, or they'll get some blueberries and strawberries. And they just know that like that translates into the energy side of things. They don't understand
Yeah.
any of the specifics. They don't need to know that, but
Yeah.
they just make that correlation and understand the simple nature of it.
Mm-hmm.
So just things like that. They have to like they get some desserts and treats and things like that, like any other kid would. But like some days, if it's like they've just been chilling out all day in the house and they want to have some Oreos or they want to go out for ice cream or something, I'll be like, well, what'd you do today? If they
Mm.
just did nothing or whatever, I'm like, well, maybe we should go for a walk, or maybe we should go play outside and play some football or throw the ball around, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that way they're making that connection that like you just can't eat anything you want all day and
Yeah.
expect to still be healthy and take care of yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of how
Yeah.
I've incorporated it. It could be right,
Yeah.
it could be wrong. I really don't know. I can't be for certain, but it works good for us right now, I
Mm-hmm.
think. And my kids aren't little hellions running around and being
Yeah.
disrespectful and all juiced up on all sorts of stuff, and they're not fat and sloppy and disrespectful. So I take all
Yeah.
those as wins in my book as a
Yeah,
dad.
for sure. Yeah, it's definitely important, I think, at a young age to learn those things because that's something they'll carry with them, throughout their life. And, the older you get, the harder it is to try to change that. And a
Yeah,
lot of us, we had to learn the hard way. It's just you grew up eating like candy and all this sugar on cereal and everything.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
just it's easy to fall into that. And I think a lot of parents just don't pay attention to that stuff and what kids are eating or what they're getting at school. I think maybe schools are a little better with it now, but it's important to have that idea, especially as a kid. Like, okay, I didn't do anything today, so I shouldn't have anything that's not good for me because I didn't walk or run or do this. So
Right.
that's just important to stable that like in their mind so they know that for their life. So that's
Yeah.
good. Like they put the sugary like stuff on the bottom shelf for kids, and
Hmm.
we'll just
Yep.
see like Lucky Charms. Here it is on the bottom shelf. Like, hey mom, let me get this. I think stuff like that is crazy that even happens.
Yeah. It's all set up just to try and catch certain people and get their
Yeah,
attention, and I mean that's all it is. Like
yeah,
you walk in there and that's I mean once you know like it's just like slapping you in the face when you're
mm-hmm,
in there doing it.
yeah, yeah. And like that's why all the boxes look real colorful and they look real.
Yeah, and
Like your eyes
have
gonna
all
be
these
attracted to it.
characters and yeah.
Yeah, and what's that saying about grocery stores to shop on the outside? Um, what what is it? The outside rim of the
Yeah, something
grocery
like
store?
that. Like all your
Something.
I don't remember. Yeah, basically you're supposed to stay to the outside of the aisles. Don't go down the aisles.
Yeah, yeah. I just that just goes to show though like how unhealthy a lot of things are, and people don't think about it. They don't think twice about it. They just, oh, I like this. I'm gonna get this. But it's not always about how good it tastes. It's about how good it is for you. So,
Yeah,
it's important, especially, like I said, to teach them that at a young age. So, especially like when they're with friends or anything. Yeah, I don't know how old they are, but once they get older, if they're younger, to influence maybe their friends on that or to teach them that. So,
right. Well, and
yeah.
we have like kids that'll come over and or vice versa. Like if we go to like a birthday party or something for other
Mm-hmm.
family or friends or whatnot, and like I'll just see kids like go through juice packs like it's going out of style. Like they're just pounding these drinks and whatnot, and my kids will go up and get one, and instantly, like if they even think about another, they'll come ask us, and it's just a straight like,
Yeah.
nope, go get some water, and then they go get water,
Yeah.
and that's that. Like it is what it
Yeah.
is, and they move on. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's important, man. I mean, that's awesome that they do that though. That's really good.
yeah, they don't
That's
always like
awesome.
me for it, but they
Yeah.
still
Do
at
you?
least respect it enough, and they'll appreciate it
Yeah.
someday.
Yeah, they'll appreciate it. One day when they're in their 20s, they'll be like, "Oh, I really appreciate that. Now it's easier for me now."
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Do you see like a lot of high schoolers still with like really bad eating habits that you try to fix or tell them or just educate them on?
kids will come up and talk to me all the time about stuff, and like it always
Mm-hmm.
comes down to like they're either, I mean, I would say like I would even say probably 99% of the students that I encounter are way over consuming processed food and way under eating protein. Like those
Mm-hmm.
two things just, I mean, when you're young, you can get by with it for a while, but like
Yeah.
it's hard. Like I almost want to just point out to a lot of these kids, like, go home tonight and just kind of study, like, what do your parents look like? Go back and look at their
Yeah.
pictures in school. Like, what did they look like when they were in high school? And
Mm-hmm.
I think that would just like blow their minds and like make the connection of like, oh shit, like I need to like get
Yeah.
my stuff in line and I'm going to start paying attention when I'm eating. But
Yeah.
I haven't found a good way to make that conversation happen and not make a lot of people mad.
Yeah, that's true. People are sensitive about that stuff still. So, but it's
Yeah,
important to know like it shouldn't be shouldn't have to be sensitive about having a healthy lifestyle. So, which is
right.
it's important for everybody, especially when to live a long like healthy life.
Yeah.
So, what's the difference like between coaching people in person, like you do with the students, and doing online coaching? Like, I know you've had clients all over the world. It seems like Canada, Mexico, South Africa, and Austria. Austria, you said.
Yeah.
So, how is that? Is it more difficult to do it online? Is there any difference in that, or is it pretty straightforward, like both ways?
The more I'm getting into doing stuff with students, I've really realized that like the students are hands down more receptive in person. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
because they're more still kind of at that moldable age. They don't have a lot of bad habits in place. Like they might have some things that they're picking up on and whatnot, but like the student atmosphere, they really thrive off getting to talk to me in person, get to see me do things, get to demonstrate it, get my criticism right there in the moment. Adults, like there's some people that really do good with that kind of stuff, but it's not a real high percentage. Uh, the vast majority of people really lack a lot of confidence when it comes to stuff, unless they're, but again, like bodybuilding and whatnot, or like when I started doing my prep and whatever, I didn't mind going and getting criticism from my coach because that's what I wanted to do, and I'd already worked up
Yeah.
to that point. But the vast majority of people that I work with are usually trying to make that like body transformation. They've let themselves go. They're former
Mm-hmm.
athletes, or they've never had a good lifestyle to begin with, so they're a couple 100 pounds overweight. But just all those sorts of things. So usually
Yeah.
when I encounter them, I've done, like I said, I've owned a gym in the past. I've done personal training in person. Like I've done
Mm-hmm.
all those things, and the adults that I worked with in person were few and far between that would be able to like be super receptive and maintain those results. But like when it came to the online side of things, people really seem to thrive a lot better with it because they I mean, I'm kind of like this too. Like someone kind of gives me some tips or things to do, and I kind of want to go do it on my own in my own time when no one else is around, so that like if I screw up or if I don't get it right or if I have questions, I can kind of look things up and whatnot. And I know that's what all my people are typically doing, is they're kind of Googling some stuff, they're like reaffirming some things that I tell them. They're going home, they're messing around in the kitchen, they're playing with their app and
Yeah.
tracking food and trying to play with numbers and whatnot to see what works. And just doing all, or they'll try and do an exercise in the privacy of their own room or home versus going to the gym and doing it for the first time. Just little
Yeah.
things like that. So like I think just by nature, like the adults really seem to do a lot better with the virtual side of stuff because they can have that like secrecy to stuff that they do. And it's
Yeah.
kind of on their terms when they can share and let the world and let me in on what actually is like happening and what things look like and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
um, versus like a student. Like there, you can't trust most of them to be accountable to themselves unless like you're right there with them and just um, like that's kind of the way I've seen the dynamic work out. It wasn't intentional that I was trying to figure out like which one did this or that or the other, in either direction,
Mm-hmm.
virtual or in person. But it's just kind of where I've been blessed to be able to see both dynamics over time of the last 12, 13 years that I've been doing this. And like right now, that's kind of where I fall into where I really notice that like the in person with the students, they're freaking thriving. They're doing awesome, and they're taking everything up like a sponge that I do with them in person. Anything I've given them to do on their own, every time I check in with them, it's, oh yeah, I forgot, or oh, I did that. Like they never hold themselves accountable, but everything I do in person, they do.
Yeah.
and the adults are the same way. Like some of them, like I work with people all over the country and a couple people globally and whatnot, but like the people in my hometown or area that I run into that I've coached or coached currently, if I see them in person, like they might share everything with me virtually, but when I see them in person, they're just kind of like mild and like, hey, what's up? And like that's that.
Yeah.
Like they don't want to get super into all the stuff around their friend or their family or whatever. Um, so
Yeah.
that's kind of what I've seen with it.
Yeah. I feel like, a lot of people, especially if they're not used to that, used to working out like that, or they're new to it, some people, it's hard for them to even go to the gym. They're worried about what people will think about them. And,
Hmm.
I think that's a big misconception too, is I think majority of the gym community is pretty positive and pretty helpful.
Yeah,
But yeah, I could imagine like people that are just getting into it, that are trying to lose weight. It's hard. It is hard to do that, to even start doing that. So that's probably why it is easier to talk to them through,
right,
online rather than in person. Because it's like almost like being confronted in person, or someone asking you that. So
right. Well,
yeah,
like I'm sure you've even kind of experienced it too. Like you said, you were kind of the skinny guy growing up. So like
yeah,
if you would
yeah,
have got thrown
forever.
into a gym with a bunch of big meatheads, like it would have been
Hmm.
intimidating.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was. And like I remember in high school I went to I was it 11th grade? Might have been 10th or 11th grade, but one of my first hour classes, it was like a weight training class. So cuz I always kind of had like that interest in it, mostly because of my cousin, cuz he had an interest in it early on. Um, and just trying to get in there and do that, it was intimidating at first, but it kind of, you learn over time that it's not really that intimidating. It's just, all mental. So,
Right.
um, but I think it's good to get in there and push yourself, even if you're scared to do it. It helps you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask, because you said you did own a gym. What years was that you owned it again?
It was from 2018 to 24.
Okay, so a goal of me, and my co-host, uh, we want to own a gym one day. So with you, you had that experience of owning one, and you told me that you closed it. What was that experience like, and was it like what you expected, or is this what are some things that we should know if we do plan on ever opening one in the future?
Yeah, the biggest thing is really I think every gym has to have a certain culture to it. Like that's like
Yeah.
a hands down given. And I think like if you can't figure out and establish what that culture is going to be early on and just really
Mm-hmm.
drive in and stick to that, it makes it difficult. And like I said, I'm in a super small town. Like man, I don't even know what the population size would be to be honest. Like I said,
Yeah.
like our graduating classes now are averaging around like 60 to 70. Um,
Wow.
so like it's
Yeah.
not big at all in this area. So I was the first and only gym that's ever been here in our town.
Oh wow.
So like that was kind of like what one of the things that I wanted to do. Like once really started to get into everything fitness wise, I really
Mm-hmm.
like kind of had that as a goal. I wanted to open up a gym in our hometown. Um, and like it did awesome. We were doing great. And a couple years in, that's when COVID happened. And like I fell to the same thing that everyone else did. And like I closed the doors and like just kind of sitting back and kind of waiting and chilling for things to settle up and get back to normal. And um, like during that time frame, I was like I was always kind of like a small town vibe guy with how I ran the business. So like I didn't hold anyone to
Mm-hmm.
contracts and whatnot. And um, I think looking back, I should have had some kind of like contract obligation, just because of like once that slipped up and let up, the the retention
Mm-hmm.
coming back after that had kind of passed and whatnot, was very, very non-existent because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people had just kind of thrown in the towel on their fitness game in general and just wrote it out
Yeah.
for a couple more years of not doing anything. And that's something I really like beat myself up over even to this day, kind of looking back. I feel like I kind of let our community down, um, because like once like we had an awesome thriving culture going all the way up until that point, and then just like I personally pumped the brakes on a lot of stuff because didn't know what was going on, It was kind of just
Yeah.
like its little side business of mine. It was just kind of there to sustain itself because I was teaching full time at that point, coaching full time online, and just kind of had it there. So that was the biggest thing. Like if like other people have asked me for like what my thoughts were on like when they wanted to open up a gym, I had a good buddy of mine that has been in and out of trying to open up a couple of gyms here at some nearby towns and whatever. So we've had a lot of conversations, and that's always been the biggest thing is like you really got to figure out and own that culture and just have some kind of skin or have like your members have some skin in the game. Like
Yeah.
you can be pretty laid back, but like even if there's a contract or something in place to kind of make them still like be around and be accountable, like if something should happen or does happen or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
just to kind of make sure that you have that safety net to not have like I was literally calling all of these people one by one because I had canceled everything because it had drawn out for so long. I felt guilty having
Mm-hmm.
that stuff and whatever, and I didn't know what was going to happen. And I couldn't just like start everything
Yeah.
back up and surprise everybody and just piss off my community because there's not very many
Mm-hmm.
people. So that could have been bad. So like I started calling
Yeah.
all these people one at a time, and it was hundreds of gym members, and it was just constantly getting that no, 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 like they didn't want to. They were going to write it
Mm-hmm.
out, and I was just being too generous
Yeah.
and giving at that time. So I think having like I felt like it was being disrespectful to have something like that in place, but I
Mm-hmm.
think it's just like an essential. Like it's a good business practice. And
Yeah.
I don't know what that looks like exactly, and like I don't know what you guys have in mind, but that's something that I would definitely kind of keep in the back of your mind. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but outside of that, like we were, you got to have, I think, a good. Um, really trying to figure out how to word this appropriately, not knowing who potentially would listen, but having something in place to where like if where you're currently at, if you can somehow take ownership of that, meaning like
Okay.
you're buying the property and just owning it outright, not having to lease it, rent it, etc. Just having as much ownership of things as absolutely possible from the top down, just so there's not little caveats that can kind of get into the mix, because that's ultimately like what kind of led to me having to close the doors is because of not having that complete ownership from top down,
Mm-hmm.
with how things operated and where we were and different things like that. And like being in a small town, we didn't have a lot of options to choose
Yeah.
from. So like that was really what it kind of came down to. Um, so I think the more control you can have of the external things, the better, um,
Mm-hmm.
or at least have a good backup plan or something like that. And again, like I don't know where you're at demographically and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but just kind of keeping some of that stuff in mind, I think makes a huge difference for gyms
Yeah.
because that's what I've typically like. I try to network with people in every area of my life as much as I can. So like I've made connections with a lot of gym owners and whatnot, and I've had a lot of friends that have started and closed gyms all within a 10 to 15 year time frame,
Yeah.
kind of based along the same thing of like something happens and like their gym membership takes a big hit, and then when they try to like recoup it,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to
It's hard to.
build things back up once it takes a big hit for something getting in the way.
Yeah. 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 I mean, like COVID hit a lot of gyms, like you said,
Yeah,
that it hit your gym too. And, I know some people that it hurt their gym to the point where they did have to close. And
yeah,
it wasn't a great thing. Then I know people that stayed open and got in trouble by the state. So that wasn't a
right.
good thing either.
Um,
That was a weird situation, but,
yeah.
yeah.
Do you do you remember the name Ian Smith? He was
Ian
the
Smith.
he was the guy in like New Jersey or New York that was like fighting against his state government and like kept ripping off the wood off the doors and stuff that they kept putting on there. And
Maybe.
he
Yeah,
he
I think so.
he was like the big huge name. But I've actually like so I'm friends with him and like I've made connections with
Okay.
him over the years, and he's totally gotten out
Yeah.
of that game now and moved on to bigger, better things. But like
Oh, wow.
if you get a chance, go in and Google and see some of his stuff, or
Okay.
even reach out to him and get him on here one day. But he's got some wild stories.
Really?
But he's an awesome dude.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. That's that's crazy. He was on the news and everything for that. I do think I
Yeah,
remember something about that. So, Yeah, I'll have to look it up. That's funny.
Yeah.
That was a weird time, man. People didn't know what to do. I mean, nobody knew what to do. So, and it did hurt a lot of things. It hurt a lot of, I'm a big movie guy too, like movie theaters and stuff. I was
Uh-huh.
worried about closing, and it was a tough time. But I think some places, a lot of places did bounce back, and especially taking a hit like that, like in your small town, it's got to be hard for people to want to come back to the one gym that's ever been there. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, not a lot of people. A lot of people like get a gym membership and never go.
Yeah.
So it's just like a lot of these gyms have huge members, and the amount of people that are actually active are way smaller than
Very
that.
small.
So,
Yeah.
like Planet Fitness has a great business idea of like it's so cheap that why cancel it? Like you're
Right.
not a lot of people end up not going, not being consistent, but why cancel it? That's why it's so cheap. I think it's more expensive now, but originally it was like what, $10 or something like that. And
Yeah.
I've
Something
had
stupid.
family members now that are like, well, yeah, why cancel it? Even though we go twice a year, why cancel it?
Right.
It's so
You never
cheap.
know. I might decide to go in. I'll just keep it there.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's, you talked about gym culture too, and, you know, that is important. And, where I live, the issue is that there are a lot of gyms, but we don't really have that type of like powerlifting, like, we're using chalk, not being
Uh-huh.
super clean in that sense, like a LA Fitness or a
Right.
Planet Fitness. We have like a lot of those commercial gyms here.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what makes us want to own that different type of gym.
Yeah.
But it is that issue of, what's going to separate your gym from these other gyms? Like, why are people going to choose to go to your gym that's going to be more expensive than Planet Fitness instead of just going to Planet Fitness?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like we have to worry about over here because there's just a lot of gyms. It's just a lot of people have them.
It'll really be one of those things you just got to pay attention to, like how many members do you need to have to sustain like whatever size or wherever it is that you get a facility built up.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, like if you have a like that kind of like grungy style gym, you're not going to have a huge gym
Yeah.
membership. Like it's going to be pretty more small and intimate and whatnot. So
Mm-hmm.
you got to figure out like what can you manage members wise
Yeah.
that's reasonable to them, um, and still make it sustainable. Unless like
Yeah.
it depends on what your goals are with it and whatnot. I mean, I know everyone kind of varies and whatnot, but
Mm-hmm.
most of those kind of gyms, because I feel like we have a lot of those throughout
Mm-hmm.
Ohio. Like that's kind of one of
Oh
the
yeah, I forgot. I was just about to say. I think you were in Ohio, but I'm about to say Ohio
yeah.
has a ton and Michigan has none,
Yeah, Ohio
which is
has them
weird.
all over the place. Like that's kind of like my
Yes.
brother and I's thing. Like anytime we travel for something, like we always find the local
Oh
gym,
yeah.
whether it be like the powerlifter gym, the Olympic gym,
Mm-hmm.
the CrossFit gym, like
Yeah.
whatever it is, we always find
Yep.
something and we just go
Yep. Me
check
and
it
my
out.
cousin
And
do that all the time. That's part
yeah,
of the vacation.
yeah, yep, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. We're staying here because this gym is 10 minutes away. So.
Yeah, yep, I get it.
Yeah. It's it definitely will be a difficult thing, but you never know. Like, yeah, Ohio has a ton. I mean, West Side's there, and then they have all these smaller, grungier gyms, and we've even done an Ohio trip just to visit these gyms,
That's
and
awesome.
I'm just like, why are they not in Michigan? Like, why is there barely any here? Like, I don't understand. It's
Yeah,
across the border. I don't, I don't
yep.
know, but yeah, that's something we want to kind of bring here someday. I mean, who knows, man? These buildings are expensive, so.
I have another I have a really good friend of mine that was also an online coach is kind of how we got
Hmm.
networked together. But he lives out in Virginia Beach and
Oh wow. Okay.
he started a gym out there from scratch and like the place is super pristine, but he still has like that like big meathead powerlifting vibe to it
Hmm.
too. And like he does a lot of
Really?
awesome stuff. But I got to get you connected with him because
Oh
like
yeah.
he's figured out some awesome stuff to make everything work and still like have the best of both worlds. And
Hmm.
like that he's on my list. Like I need to get out to Virginia Beach. And I mean, I'll take my
Hmm.
family on vacation probably, but
Yeah.
I just want to go check out my buddy's gym really.
Yeah. We're going to the gym, guys. Let's go.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. What's the name of his gym?
It's Awaken Inside.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, I'll
So
look that up. That'll definitely be on my list to go visit
yeah,
because that's something I like. We always do. It's very important. Like these different gyms, they're not the same other places than they are here.
yeah,
A lot of them are different. Like especially Ohio, but we found some good ones in Florida before. Um, and California obviously has some like that outside beach gym that's pretty cool.
yeah,
um, but yeah, I'll have to check that one out. That sounds cool. So I'll definitely look it up.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, man. Before I end this, just where can everybody find you? And where can everybody find your podcast?
Yeah, so the podcast is just the No Bad Days podcast. You can
Mm-hmm.
find it on Spotify and iTunes. And finding me on social media, Instagram is usually the best way. And it's just my name, andrew.po.1p. So I mean, those are kind of the
All right.
two main places where you can find most of my
All
content.
right.
So
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, man. I was listening to some of your podcasts earlier, and I thought it was great. Like, I don't know. I was just listening to it while I was working, and I was like, man, this is great. This is a good episode. Like your
it
new one.
it was
Yeah.
kind of weird like with this one to be like because anytime I have someone on, like I'm kind of in your
Mm-hmm.
seat where I just like to listen
Yeah.
and hear the stories and kind of carry some conversation and whatnot. So this is fun and different
Yeah.
for a
Yeah. It's
change.
cool. Yeah, I've done a couple podcasts like me being the guest on them, and it is different for a change. So,
Yeah,
um, it's definitely something, I'm still getting used to it, man. This podcast is only about a year old, so it's not really in my comfort zone to even talk to a bunch of different people, but I'm glad I've done it because I've met so many people. So it's just something,
yeah.
to challenge yourself to do different things. So
Are
that was,
I'm curious, are you like would you say you're more introverted then versus extroverted?
yeah, I think, for sure. I think I was definitely more introverted. But I think now, with doing this, just talking to so many different people, having to come up with certain questions and just trying to learn
Yeah,
everybody's story, it really helps. It does. Like I am like my co-host is too that's not here today. Like we're both very introverted, like with
that's funny.
especially out in public or other people. So it's just that was a challenge, but I told him way back then, I was like, okay, if we want to do this, we're gonna do this. I'm not backing out. Like let's just try it. And I do think it's been for the better because I think it's taught me how to talk to more people,
Yeah.
and I've honestly enjoyed it and made so many friends on this podcast. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
I just wanted to ask that because me personally, like I'm hardcore introvert. Like
yeah,
by nature, like I could just sit at home and like not talk to anybody. Like I'm not a social butterfly at all out in
yeah.
public. So like
Mm-hmm.
everyone always tells me that like they can't see that from me when I carry a conversation or talk to them. So that's always reassuring that like I'm getting better at it. But like I would have never guessed that from you. So
Oh
that's always
well,
cool to see.
I'm glad. So
Yeah,
maybe the podcast has had a positive impact on me. Plus, I've had some jobs in the past where I had to talk to a bunch of people. So,
yeah.
um, but yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not an extrovert. I do not. I'd rather just stay home and chill.
As long as you can do it when you need to for stuff like this, that's all that matters, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah. This is just for
It's like the
whatever,
best.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
this is just a passion of mine and my co-host that we've had that idea for a while. So honestly, like Blacksheep Barbell, that's like the name of the gym that we want to open someday. Like we work out in his garage. We just call it like the Blacksheep Garage. Um, and I lived in Georgia for a couple of years, and I knew I was moving back here because I'm from here. I'm in Michigan, and I was like, let's just try that podcast idea. We got to talking about it again, and yeah, made it work. So I'm glad. I think
it's
it's helped
cool.
me definitely as an
Yeah,
introvert. So.
it's awesome.
Yeah. Great conversation with Andrew. It was pretty cool to hear about, the difference between online coaching and coaching in person, especially that he coaches high schoolers. That could be a whole different ball game, with social media influence and, diet. And plus, he's really into nutrition. So teaching kids about that is really important. All right. I'm going to try this. Um, this probably doesn't work. So a little bit. Maybe just flew up in the air. I don't know. We have a new one. Devin hasn't brought it, and he's not here on his birthday. Happy birthday, Devin, by the way. It's Halloween when this comes out, and you're not here. Partying too hard. Anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching. We appreciate everybody, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.